Hello and welcome to the Raus IAS. This is the Daily News Simplified for the date 28 June 2024. And for our today's discussion, we have picked up these following 7 articles, 2 of which are related to our mains discussion and 5 are related to prelims discussion. The articles which we have picked up for our mains discussion are cross-border terrorism in Jammu and Kashmir. The second article is shifting to natural farming. The articles for your prelims discussion are mentioned over your screen. So before we begin our discussion, if you like our video, give us a thumbs up. And if you have any doubt, you can ask us in the comment section. So let's begin our today's discussion. The first topic for today's discussion is inspired by this news article, which appeared on the page number 6 of The Hindu. This news article reads as Rishi and the years-old issue of cross-border terror. So, first of all, what is terrorism? Terrorism is any act of violence and intimidation on civilian population, which can be based on any political ideology, any religious or any other ideology, right? So, we have seen that in the landscape of Jammu and Kashmir, in the security landscape of Jammu and Kashmir, terrorism and militancy has been persistent issue since many decades, right? Now, prior to the Pulwama attack of 2019, India has always resorted to diplomatic means to address the issue of cross-border terrorism, particularly which is sponsored by Pakistan, right? So we can see this by the 1998 bilateral composite dialogue between India and Pakistan. But we saw that Pakistan was unwilling to address India's concerns, or we can see that there was non-seriousness or non-reciprocity on the part of Pakistan. That's why it resulted in failure of all these diplomatic issues. And right from 1990s, we have seen that this calibrated use of terrorist group against India by Pakistan became a part of its security doctrine since 1990s, right? So in this sense, we've seen that India, we have used deterrence policies against to counter terrorism, that is by stationing of large military forces. We have more than 2 lakh security forces which are stationed in Jammu and Kashmir alone, right? And then we have resorted to the means of dialogue and diplomacy by engaging Pakistan and also by addressing this issue in global forums like United Nations, right? But after the Pulwama attack of 2019, we saw that India has taken a more proactive stance. So, in the Balakot airstrike, India declared that it declared a doctrine of preemption. So, this doctrine of preemption says that India will now take a proactive stance in order to fight the cross-border terrorism which is coming from Pakistan. India would not deter in doing an airstrike or any kind of strike right in the territory of Pakistan itself. Okay, so that was a more proactive stance which India did, and it was manifested in the form of Balakot airstrike. Right now, fast forward coming in 2024, we see that the situation of terrorism in Jammu and Kashmir has particularly subdued in since last few years, right? Since last 5 or 6 years, right? But before this, let's see that what happened. A significant development happened in the year 2019 in Jammu and Kashmir when we saw that Article 370 of Indian Constitution, which gave special status and autonomy to Jammu and Kashmir, was abrogated. And subsequently, in October 2019, by the Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Act, we saw that the erstwhile state of Jammu and Kashmir was bifurcated into state controlled or union territory of Jammu and Kashmir and union territory of Ladakh, right? So now by all these means, by the zero tolerance policy which India has been adopting, In Jammu and Kashmir, we have seen that the instances of terrorism in the state are narrowing, and this can be backed by the fact that in the national elections which were conducted recently, we saw the highest turnout, the highest voter turnout in Jammu and Kashmir, and which was more than 50%, even more than 50% in Kashmir alone, right? And it was highest in decades, because after 2019, majority of the separatist leaders, they have been jailed or imprisoned, and majority of terrorists they have been killed, right? But having said this, now recently we have seen that in earlier this year, in the subsequent months, we have seen the rise of terrorist activities, standalone terrorist activities in Jammu and Kashmir. Recently we saw an attack in Reshi in Jammu and Kashmir, right? So this brings us to today's discussion that there is a changing strategy of terrorism now in Jammu and Kashmir. Now, before we discuss it, let's see, this topic is important for us for our GS paper 3 internal security. This is important under the syllabus head security challenges and their management in border areas and linkages of organized crime with terrorism, right? So if we see, based on this theme, in the year 2023, we found this particular question which was directly related to conflict resolution in Jammu and Kashmir via confidence building measures. And then also it was regarding the cross-border cyber attacks. Okay, so we saw these particular questions in preceding years. Now let's discuss that what is the changing nature of terrorism in Jammu and Kashmir. So first of all, we see that earlier, the first point of difference is that earlier the terrorist attacks, they were highly organized. Now the terrorist attack, they have become more like proxy wars. The difference lies in the fact that earlier the terrorist attack, they were aimed to cause massive casualties, to kill maximum number of people, and to inflict violence, to inflict terror, right? But now in this proxy war, we are seeing that there are more stand-alone attacks. Rather than mass killings, the focus is now selective killings. Selective killings, and this has been seen in the killings of the personals of security forces, of say Jammu and Kashmir police, of various other security forces or armed forces stationed in Jammu and Kashmir, and the killing of non-local civilians. This is the killing of people who are aiming to get domicile in Jammu and Kashmir, such that there is some kind of fear mongering to prevent these people to settle in Jammu and Kashmir, and then killing of local leaders. Okay, so now this approach, which was highly organized earlier, because the backbone of terrorism has been broken to some extent, okay, now it has turned to more like proxy war, okay, lone wolf attacks or standalone attacks. But these attacks, they are becoming more frequent now. Okay, this is the challenge, that such attacks are becoming more frequent now. And what is the second thing which we are seeing? We are seeing that there are hybrid militants now. That is, the militants, they are particularly assimilating themselves amongst the local populations, such that it is difficult for security forces to recognize a local person and a terrorist, because the terrorists or the militants, they are living in the same locality, right? So this is the concept of hybrid militants, that is disguising themselves among locals. Okay, so this is posing a significant security challenge to identify them by the security forces. Okay, now the third issue is that they are using small improvised weapons. Some examples are using IEDs, which are improvised explosive devices. Basically, these are small homemade bombs. So they can be made very easily, and they can be deployed to create a small scale impact or small scale killings, right? And one example can be sticky bombs. So sticky bombs are kind of IEDs which can be stuck, which can be attached to any surface, say for example, say any vehicle, and it can be detonated after. So these terrorists, they want to avoid direct confrontation with the security forces. So they are doing such kind of proxy attacks which uses such kind of improvised weapons which can be detonated from a distance. And we have seen that there have been incidences of airdropping of weapons via the use of UAVs, drones, right? So particularly in the border areas, in the disturbed areas which are located close to LOC, line of control, okay? And apart from this, we have seen the rise in the incidences of fifth generational warfare. So what is fifth generational warfare? Fifth generational warfare is the use of ICT, information and communication technology, is the use of social media to, first of all, to create a warfare of propaganda, to create propaganda warfare, to disseminate false information which could create mistrust in people, right? And such propaganda is now easily can be easily floated with the use of social media now, right? And now the social media is also being used to recruit people within India, okay, in this by these separatist people, okay. And other example of fifth generation warfare is by using cyber, is by conducting cyber crimes or by doing cyber security attacks. These cyber security attacks, they can be very detrimental to the critical infrastructure in India, okay. So this is the changing or the innovations which have been done by terrorists, or we can see the evolving nature of strategies which are being adopted by terrorists, militants inside India as well as outside India, okay. For it, we also need the armed forces, or India also need to evolve its strategy for counter terrorism, right? So what can we do? What is the way forward? The way forward is that by upgradation of our technology as well as equipments. So for example, in such incidences like weapons were being airdropped by UAVs and drones, for it what we can have? We can have a good system of radars for tracking these aerial vehicles, right? And then we can have good counter drone measures, okay, that is to destroy these drones. And we can have good signal jamming, that is to defunct these drones or other technology which are used by these terrorists, right? And then we can have updated border surveillance technology. For example, we can have thermal imagers. We can properly fence our borders, right? So we need to invest more on upgradation of our infrastructure as well as technology, okay. And secondly, what we can do by improved intelligence gathering and coordination among the security forces, security agencies. So with proper coordination among all the intelligence gathering agencies, for example Raus, and for example financial intelligence units, if they all coordinate, we can find out we can trace the sources of money laundering, and then when this and is this money is being used to finance terrorism among others, right? And to see if there is any cross-border infiltration or indoctrination of people, right? So other thing is by investing in more sophisticated cyber security tools like advanced firewalls, okay, advanced cyber security tools which are using artificial intelligence in order to block such kind of traffic which is harmful, okay. And then we can do good propaganda management, that is India can establish independent government based fact check units which can dismantle the propaganda which is being spread on social media, right? And then by enough confidence building measures, for example Operation Sadbhavna, which is already in operation in Jammu and Kashmir since 1988. This is a kind of operation which is conducted by Indian Army, and Sadbhavna means humanity, basically to cultivate the feeling of humanity. So it is a confidence building, or it is a trust building initiative in which particularly these armed forces in the villages which are most inflicted by terror. So in these villages, these armed forces, they build infrastructure, they interact with people, they provide them education and health facilities, and among this other verticals are that the youth, which are living in such villages, in such terror inflicted villages. The youth from these villages, they are given opportunity to tour all India, such that they can see different ideology which are present, and different kind of the how the states are working, how the different states are working, right? And among other things, Operation Sadbhavna is an important initiative which is to cultivate confidence building among local army people. Okay, that is local side as well as government agencies. Okay, another one such initiative is Back to Village program. Back to Village program, this was launched in the year 2019, and in this program, what happens in this program? Government official, they go at the doorsteps of local people in different villages, and they ask these people that what is the state of implementation of government schemes. That is, for example, what is the state of water supply in your area, what is the state of other services, electricity, health facilities, education, and other services. So how is the government, how is the government actually performing there? What is the state of local administration? So this is what is done in this program. Okay, that is for grievance redressal of locals by visiting at their doorsteps. Okay, now other such initiatives could be by building enough infrastructure, by building enough employment generation facilities in such areas, by building enough opportunities for vocational education for the local youth, and by engaging local youth in youth parliament. Okay, by the means of more debates between the government officials and these people, such that both sides can understand the concerns of each other, right? And then other initiative could be by assessing the applicability of Armed Forces Special Power Act in Jammu and Kashmir. So Armed Forces Special Power Act gives enormous powers to the security forces to arrest, search, and various other powers. Okay, but the use of AFSA has been controversial, that it is meant to be this act is meant to be used in disturbed areas, but in certain pockets within Jammu and Kashmir where the areas are relatively stable, in that places government can think of removing AFSA from such places. Okay, government can think about this, and by various other diplomatic means, we cannot forget the importance of dialogue, right? So even if Pakistan is not reciprocating, then if still India should initiate dialogues with Pakistan, and also we should foster the help of international community to advance our concerns, right? And to garner their support in international organizations. Okay, so basically this was how the nature of terrorism is changing in Jammu and Kashmir, and this is what we can do. Okay, now with this, let's move on to our next article, which appeared on the page number 5 of the Hindu Business Line. Now this article says that shifting to natural farming. So the central government is considering a serious push towards natural farming. Okay, now this topic is important for us for our GS paper 3 environment, under the syllabus head conservation, environmental pollution, degradation, environmental impact assessment, basically towards conservation of environment, right? Now in this particular theme, we have seen these particular questions which were asked in 2020 and 2018. In 2018 we found a question on the economic benefits of organic state, or basically organic farming, right? So now let's discuss natural farming. Now first of all, let's see that what is natural farming. Natural farming is a subset of organic farming, though in a strict sense. So by its definition, in a strict sense, we can say that what is natural farming? Natural farming means it is based on the principle that if we leave the ecosystem alone, the ecosystem has the capacity to heal itself, to self regenerate. Okay, so this is natural farming, and it says that we not need to apply any inputs like any fertilizers, whether any chemical or any natural fertilizers, and if we only use the natural resources in our vicinity, this natural ecosystem will heal itself. Okay, so this is in strict sense the definition of natural farming. So this is, you can see that this is different from organic farming, where in organic farming, what do? We want to do sustainable agriculture, but for it we will shift towards organic solutions. Okay, we will shift towards organic fertilizers. So, but for our this discussion, for our domain of UPSC, we will not do this strict separation of natural farming and organic farming, but we will consider natural farming as a subset of organic farming. Okay. Now, so in this backdrop, let's understand that what's natural farming now. So what is natural farming? Natural farming is a chemical-free farming and livestock-based farming. That is, it integrates the elements of flora and fauna, that is crops, trees, as well as livestock around it, in order to enable sustainable agriculture. Okay. Now see, the natural farming, though its definition or though the technique, how we do natural farming, the different regions of India may have their different techniques for it, different traditional methods to do natural farming. But in India, natural farming is promoted as Bharatiya Prakritik Krishi Paddhati. This means Indian ancient agriculture scheme. Okay, under the Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana. Now we all know that Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana or organic farming. This is a scheme regarding organic farming, and it was launched in the year 2015. Okay, there's a scheme Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana. So under it, we are promoting natural farming. Okay, so what are the elements of natural farming which we are promoting? That how is actually natural farming being promoted? So there are various techniques for it. Under this scheme, the techniques mentioned here are, for example, there is one pillar of it which is known as Bijamrit. This means that the seeds which are going to be planted, these seeds can be treated with certain things. These things are like these seeds can be treated by a mixture of cow dung, cow urine, and lime-based formulations. Okay, so these are actually, by the name it says Prakritik. So these are traditional methods of how seeds are treated in order that the seed germinates. Okay, in order that it is not infested by pesticides. Okay, in order that the seed is not infested by any pest. So these are the natural solutions for it. Other thing is Jivamrit. Other pillar is Jivamrit, which means that it is a process which enhances the fertility of soil, and for it we will use the livestock waste. These are, for example, cow urine, cow dung. Along with it, we will use the flour of pulses and jaggery paste. So this in combination will form Jivamrit. Okay. And then we have other techniques, for example, Vapasha, which is related to soil aeration. That is lesser tilling of soil and the minimal use of water. Okay. So, and plant protection as well as crop mulching. Apart from this ancient techniques, in natural farming, what we can include more are zero tillage method, which is also one concept of Vapasha. In this zero tillage method, the soil is there should be minimum tilling of the soil such that there is minimum disturbance in the soil layer. This will enable that the microorganisms which are residing in soil, they are less disturbed. Okay, and other techniques are soil mulching and cover cropping. So in this mulching and cover cropping, what is done? A mesh of husk or paddy residue. This is sprayed over say trees or say crops or in fields such that the moisture of the field does not goes out. This is in order to prevent the soil moisture. Okay, and then we have other techniques like mixed cropping and crop rotation. these are also techniques to prevent the fertility of soil, okay, to improve the fertility of the soil and for nutrient recycling, okay. And also by the use of organic fertilizers, and this will be done by the recycling of biomass, okay, agricultural residue as well as residue from livestock. And also by utilizing biological pest control. Biological pest control means that we can raise certain, we can do conservation of certain species of say plants as well as animal which can act as natural pest control, okay. So this is done. The main purpose is that the use of chemical fertilizer is minimum or less, or there is no use of chemical fertilizer, okay, and such that we can get a better crop yield as well as this will preserve the environment, okay. Now let's see that what is the need of natural farming in India. Now we have discussed it many times, but let me give you a brief overview again. Now see, what is the need of natural farming for us? First of all, you know that in India, we have various challenges in the agriculture sector. First of all, we need to increase the yield. Though we have sufficient now, as of now, but as the population of our country is increasing, we need to maintain this crop yield, or we need to improve the agricultural productivity in future also, okay. Secondly, we have certain challenges, like we have the threat of climate change, which can seriously impact the productivity of crops, okay. So we need to do that. We need to ensure that there is less damage to the agricultural productivity due to climate change, okay. And we need to sustain our agricultural yield because we have to feed more than 140 crore people of India. Now, see, what is the challenge in our agriculture? That we have small land holdings. Majority of the farmers in India, around 90% of farmers in India, are small and marginal farmers who have less than 2 hectares of their land. So basically, what do? They do subsistence agriculture. That is, they are doing agriculture for their own subsistence, for their own living, to earn a living out of agriculture, right? So in this sense, the productivity, we need to increase the productivity of our land, but at the same time we need to prevent the soil fertility also, because when we know that in India there is a system of monocropping, that only one crop or similar crops are planted or season by season on the same field. This will reduce the fertility of that cropland, okay. So this is one issue. Further, what is the issue in agriculture? Another issue in agriculture is that agriculture is capital and input intensive in India. That is, we need significant amount of capital and inputs for in our agriculture system, and this input can be, for example, water. So in India, majority of agriculture, this is done, this is dependent on rainwater, or it is a 50% of India's agriculture is still rain-fed agriculture. But for other 50%, what we are doing, we are extracting the groundwater, okay, or we are doing certain other irrigation facilities. But via planting water-intensive crops, what is happening? The groundwater level is going down, okay. So, and plus our soil fertility, it is declining. And also this was one aspect. Other thing is that the subsidy burden, the subsidy which the government gives to farmers and in rural development, the subsidy is increasing year by year. The subsidy burden is increasing year by year. Now, as per the last year estimates, per year government is giving around 6 trillion per year as a subsidy to farmers and rural development, okay. And if we talk about urea subsidy alone, this urea subsidy is around 2.5 trillion per year. This is a figure of financial year 2023, that in the financial year 2023 government spent about rupees 2.5 trillion 1 year on urea subsidy, okay. And also we know that the aftermath of green revolution, that is the food security, though no doubt, it ensured food security in India. But what about nutritional security? Now we are seeing that in the Green Revolution states, there is a significant concern of nutritional security. That is, the nutritional content has gone down, right? So to ensure that the water is preserved, to ensure that the fertility of the soil is maintained, restored, right? And to ensure that there is a less subsidy burden on the government, right? And to ensure that there is a nutritional security in India's food grains, what do we need to do? We need to shift towards natural farming, which promises all these. Okay. So now let's move on to see the benefits of natural farming. Okay. Now what are the benefits? See, soil health is one benefit. Okay. Because it will zero tilling and various other natural farming methods. This will ensure that the texture of soil is restored, right? And the organic content in the soil is restored. Okay. This will ensure organic carbon or other organic content in the soil is restored. Other thing is that this will lead to, like for example, cover cropping and mulching, and zero tilling. This all will lead to water conservation, as this will prevent more water from evaporating. Okay, so this will lead to water retention or prevent the loss of soil moisture. Also, the crops which are generated from natural farming, they have more nutritional value, because see, less chemical fertilizers are used in such a method. And if less chemical fertilizers are used, less chemical fertilizers are bioaccumulated. We all know that these synthetic fertilizers, they bioaccumulate and they also enter to our food chain if we eat agriculture crops. Okay, so there is no health risk from natural farming. Also, there will be a low input cost. See, as we see that in urea subsidy alone, government is spending a significant amount, right? So if we somehow reduce this subsidy, if we somehow reduce the consumption of urea in Indian agriculture, so government can save enormous resources. Okay, so low input cost, as well as in subsequent years, by following natural farmings, this farmers will be able to earn more, as natural products or organic products, they have a more premium value in market. Okay, and this will also lead to other benefits for environment as well as biodiversity. For example, ecosystem conservation. For example, the natural pollinators, their numbers will increase, and this will restore the balance in ecosystem. And then lesser methane as well as nitrous oxide emission. See, agriculture, the major share of methane emissions as well as nitrous oxide emissions, they come from agriculture sector, basically via the use of nitrogenous fertilizers, right? So if synthetic fertilizer consumption is reduced, so this will mean to lesser agricultural emissions, right? And then this will also help in our climate adaptation goals. If natural farming is combined with agroforestry, this will lead to more storage of carbon in form of carbon sinks. Okay, and then it will also have certain socio-cultural benefits. For example, the traditional knowledge of India would be conserved, and this will end Indians as a community. People in villages as a community, they can interact together, and they can the villages, they can pool their land and they can cultivate organic products there. Okay, so this will also facilitate social cohesion also. But having said this, there are certain challenges in natural farming, in adopting it. So what is the first challenge? The first challenge is regarding the reluctance of farmers in adopting natural farming solutions. So basically we discussed that the primary aim or goal of farmers in India is subsistence, self-subsistence. Okay, so they want more yield. Okay, but we have seen that if this natural based farming, it is not as reliable, because it has less scientific validation, though it has been practiced since centuries, but it has less scientific validation. Okay, so farmers hesitate because they think that their agricultural yield will drop, and this can happen in initial years, but later it could be beneficial, it could prove beneficial for them. Also they have less knowledge regarding how to use these all natural based techniques. natural farming based techniques. Okay. Other thing is there is a poor market and policy support in India in favor of natural farming. See, we have for farmers, if they need to certify any product as organic, they need certain certifications. But there is certain issue regarding how to get these certifications, right? People don't have knowledge, awareness about it, and this process can be cumbersome for them. And then market accesses. We have less supply. We have supply chain issues in India. Okay, so we have less cold storage facilities also, because organic products, they have more concerns, because they don't use synthetic pesticides and fertilizers. They are more perishable. So in one sense, we need more storage, cold storage facility in order to store them. Okay, we don't have it. And then pest and disease management. Though we are using natural solutions for pest and disease management, but these solutions, they may not be that reliable also. Okay. And then climate dependence. These natural based solutions, they are depending on the cycles of nature. Okay, they are majorly dependent on how nature works. But with climate change, we know that climate change, because of climate change, there can be unreliability, that how this natural farming is going to withstand the pressures of climate change. Okay, so these are certain issue. So what can be one solution? One solution can be that government should focus on a mixed approach, that is a balanced use of other conventional method as well as natural or organic farming. Okay, now with this, let's move on to our prelims discussions for the day. So our first MCQ for the day is inspired by this news article which was present in page number 13 of The Hindu. Now this news article says that the opposition parties belonging to the India bloc, they plan to move an adjournment motion in parliament over the irregularities in the NEET exam. So the opposition parties, they are planning to move an adjournment motion on the NEET issue. Okay, so NEET issue, the NEET paper leak issue, this is a significant issue these days. Okay, so for it, they are going to float an adjournment motion. So with this, let's first understand that what is an adjournment motion. Now adjournment means that any sitting of the parliament can be temporarily suspended. This is known as adjournment. When a house is temporarily suspended, the house is adjourned. Okay, so any sitting of the parliament can be terminated by adjournment sine die, or prorogation, or dissolution. These are different methods. For example, adjournment, the suspension of the sitting of house or the regular business of house, it would be for few hours. Okay, it may be for one day also, few hours also. Adjournment sine die means when the sitting of the parliament, they are suspended indefinitely. Okay, there's a difference. And prorogation means when the sitting of a session, not house, a particular session of parliament is officially terminated. We have 3 sessions of parliament: summer, monsoon, winter, right? When a particular session has been terminated, it is known as prorogation. And dissolution, that when a Lok Sabha is dissoluted, when a house of Lok Sabha is dissoluted, right? So these are the certain methods in which a sitting of a parliament can be terminated. But today we are talking about adjournment. Okay, so what is adjournment motion? Adjournment motion is a device which can be used in Lok Sabha. Why it is used? It is used to draw the attention of the house to a definite matter of urgent public importance. As we all know that NEET issue is a matter of urgent public importance. So for it, the opposition is trying to draw the attention of the house to this particular matter. Okay, and if this motion is admitted by whom? By Speaker of Lok Sabha, then it will lead to an interruption of the normal business of the house for that particular day. Okay, so you know that any Lok Sabha, say it has a particular agenda, that today we are going to discuss this particular bill or this particular thing. Okay, but via this motion, if this motion is admitted, the regular business, the regular agenda of that day would be terminated. Okay, and the discussion on this urgent matter of importance would be conducted. Okay, so this is the essence of adjournment motion. Now let's see some facts about the procedure of adjournment motion. Initiation. Who can initiate it? The motion can be initiated by any member of Lok Sabha, and it can be supported. It must be supported by at least 50 members to be admitted for its discussion. So at least 50 members to support that motion such that it is admitted. So what are the conditions for admission? Under what conditions the motion can be admitted? These conditions are: the matter must be a definite, urgent, and of public importance. It should be related to any recent issue. For example, the NEET case. It should not cover any trivial matters or any matters which do not require immediate discussion. It should not deal with any matter which are sub judice or under the discussion of judiciary, or which are already under discussion in the parliament. It should not raise a question of privilege related to MPs or member of parliament. It should not revive discussion on the matter that has been discussed in the same session, and it should not raise any question that can be raised on any other distinct motion. So these are the certain conditions for the admission of any particular adjournment motion. So for it, the opposition or the member of the Lok Sabha, they have to give a notice for the adjournment motion to the speaker before 10 a.m. on the day it is proposed to be raised, and the notice should clearly state which matter has to be discussed. And then the deciding authority in the sense is speaker, that is, the speaker has the discretion to admit or to reject the motion, and if admitted, the speaker will decide the time and date for the discussion for that particular matter. Okay, and after the debate, after when the debate happens on that particular matter, the house may vote on that motion. Okay, and if that motion is passed, it is deemed as a serious indictment on the government. Okay, so basically this is a tool which can which is a check on the accountability of the government. Okay, which can ensure the transparency of the working of government, which can hold the executive accountable. Okay, so this is this particular tool. So based on this information, let us solve this question on adjournment motion. Now before this, we have seen that UPSC has asked questions regarding parliamentary proceedings. Okay, so in this particular year also we found this particular question regarding Parliament of India. Now let's solve this question, which says that which of the following statements about the adjournment motion in the Lok Sabha is or are correct. The statement 1 says an adjournment motion can be moved by any member of the Lok Sabha. This is a correct statement. It requires the support of at least 100 members to be admitted for discussion. This is incorrect because it requires a support of at least 50 members. The matter raised by the adjournment motion must be definite, urgent, and of public importance. We all saw this. This is a correct statement. Fourth statement says the speaker has the discretion to admit or reject the adjournment motion. This is also a correct statement. So what is the correct answer here? Statement 2 is incorrect. Okay, so the correct answer is option B. Now with this, let's move on to a next prelims article which appeared on the page number 14 of The Hindu. Now this article says that with the monsoon setting in, the Uttarakhand State Disaster Management Department, it is doing a vulnerability study of 13 glacial lakes in the state, 5 of which are classified into a high risk zone. Okay, so basically it talks about glacial lakes and the threats arising due to glacial lakes, that is GLOF, Glacial Lake Outburst Floods. Now let's understand what is GLOF. See, what are glacial lakes? Glacial lakes are the body of water which can form on over any glacier or under any glacier. For example, say this is any mountain and say these are glacier, okay, snow-peaked mountains in Himalayas. Okay, so over this mountains, when this glacial is melting, okay, so basically a depression can form or a lake can form. Okay, so this lake can form over the surface of this glacier or also sometimes under the surface of this glacier also. Okay, now see what is happening. Now see how is this lake protected. Now basically it is embanked. There is an embankment or it is dammed. We also say it. This lake is dammed by, say, ice. This lake, this water body is surrounded by a embankment of ice, and it could be also of unconsolidated rocks or other debris. Okay, but see what happens due to certain natural reasons as well as anthropogenic reasons. When there is a subsequent pressure builds around this lake, for example, see, due to climate change, if this glacier is melting, so there will be subsequent deposition of water, right? And this water will exert subsequent pressure on the glacier. Okay, and with this pressure, what will happen? Ultimately, these unconsolidated rocks, they will move out. They can displace. Okay, or this embankment can break. Okay, in case this embankment breaks, what will happen? This water, this will gush out downstreams. So there would be, this can turn into a serious catastrophic condition that is known as glacial lake outburst flood. So what is glacial lake outburst flood? It is a catastrophic condition or disaster which happens when a glacial lake, it breaks. Now there are certain factors which can lead to this GLOF. What are these factors? These factors can be cloudburst. When because of cloudburst, what happens? There is enormous water which has been deposited, and when this lake cannot take this water due to subsequent buildup of pressure, these moraines, they all fall down, right? This embankment is broken. And then other factors can be snow avalanche, landslide. When there is a landslide in the areas near the embankment or in upstream, this can lead to breakdown of GLOF of glacial lakes, and then melting of ice in moraine. Other factors include earthquake. If there is an earthquake in this region, this can also trigger GLOF and overflow of water basically. So these are certain factors which can lead down to this disaster. And our Himalayan glaciers, they are more vulnerable to GLOF in future because of climate change. Okay. Now based on this information, let us solve this practice question. In the year 2021, we found this particular question which was regarding the names of certain saline lakes. So various geographical features. UPSC asked various geographical features. Okay. Now let's solve this question which says that with reference to glacial outburst lake floods, consider the following. Glacial lakes are dammed by unstable ice. Now this is also a correct statement. So there can be unstable ice also. Basically, they are dammed by unstable ice. This ice can be stable as well as unstable. Most of the time it is unstable. It can be caused by earthquakes. Now this is also a correct statement. So basically all these statements are correct. So the correct answer is all three. Okay. With this, let's move on to our next news article which appeared on the page number 14 of the Hindu. Now this news article says that an antelope-like mammal, it has been recorded in western Assam. Okay, so this is an antelope type mammal which is known as Mainland Serow. So the Serow, its native habitat is Bhutan, and it is particularly found in the elevations of 200 meters to 3000 meters. But recently it has been sighted in the lower elevations of around 96 meters above the mean sea level. This has been found in Assam. Okay. So let's see a few facts regarding this mammal. So what is this Mainland Serow? It is a mammal, and it's a animal which is in between goat and antelope type mammal. So it is in between goat and antelope. Okay. And this species is basically, it is native to Himalayas. It is also found in Southeast Asia, China, and in our neighborhood, it is its native places Bhutan. It is found in various wildlife sanctuaries and national park in Bhutan. and its habitat is across India-Bhutan border. And this animal, it lives at higher altitude, and it is a territorial animal, and it lives alone or in small groups. Okay, generally antelopes, they all live in large groups, but this mammal, it particularly lives in small groups. And if we talk about its height, it's around 3 feet high, and it has coarse hairs around its body. Okay, and only male sheros, they have horns. Females do not have horns. And if we talk about its protection status, in the IUCN list, it is mentioned as vulnerable, and it is mentioned in the appendix 1 of CITES. Okay, now based on this information, this was a pretty factual information. So let's solve this practice question. Now we all know that UPSC asks questions regarding various flora, fauna, species in news. Okay. See, in the year 2023, we found a question on Indian squirrels. Now let's solve this particular question, which says that with reference to the mainland Serow, consider the following statements. Statement 1. It is a medium-sized mammal that looks like a cross between a goat and an antelope. This is a correct statement. The natural home and habitat of mainland Serow is across India-Bhutan border. This is also a correct statement. They are highly social and often seen in large groups. This is incorrect. Okay, so only statement 1 and 2 are correct. With this, let's move on to our next news article, which appeared on the page number 15 of The Hindu. Now, this article says that RBI has revised a framework in shark currency swap plan. Now, we will understand this news, but first let's understand that what is currency swap agreement. Okay, so what is currency swap agreement? So basically, currency swap agreement is in bilateral agreement which can be done between any two countries. Okay, so it is a bilateral financial agreement in which the two countries, they exchange a certain amount of their local currencies at a predetermined exchange rate. Now, to give you an example, see, India has currency swap agreement with various countries. For example, Japan, South Korea. Let's take an example of India and Japan. When, see, India has signed a currency swap agreement with Japan. Now, in this agreement, India has signed $75 billion currency swap agreement with Japan. Now, what will happen under this agreement? See, if the Central Bank of India or the financial entity of India, basically central bank or government, if Indian government, if it wants some money, okay, so it can ask from the Bank of Japan, and it can exchange, it can get this money in form of Japanese yen and US dollar. And if the Bank of Japan, if it wants money from India, it can also get this money in form of Indian rupee as well as US dollars. Okay, so currency swap agreement, that is the currency, the countries, they can exchange a certain amount of their local currencies, okay, at a predetermined exchange rate. This is the second thing, that if these countries, if they are exchanging their currencies, so basically what is this? It is a kind of loan. Okay, it is a kind of credit which one country is giving to any other country. Okay, now say now there was this news about a currency swap agreement between India and other shark countries. Okay, now see, this India and shark countries, they have currency swap agreement since 2012. Okay, now see, for example, India, let's take example of India and Sri Lanka. See, Sri Lanka is a member of shark, right? We have seen that after Russia-Ukraine war, what has happened? Subsequently, in last few years, what has happened? There have been a significant economic crisis in Sri Lanka. Okay, now say if Sri Lanka wants to take some loan from India, Sri Lanka can take loan from India via this India shark currency swap agreement. Okay, so what can Sri Lanka do? India can offer Sri Lanka loans. And in this, what can India, earlier there was an arrangement that in this currency swap, India can give this credit to Sri Lanka in form of euros and dollars in these currencies. But now presently what RBI has done? RBI has revised this framework, and now India can also offer rupees, loan in rupees to Sri Lanka. Okay, now this is the revised agreement, that under the framework a separate INR, that is a rupee swap window, has been introduced with various concessions. Okay, so basically two countries are taking loan from each other via this arrangement. Now you will think that how it is different from any other loan taking mechanism. Now see, the significant difference comes here is that it has a predetermined exchange rate. That is, the currency exchange rate is predetermined. Now, for example, see, the currencies of various countries now, the currencies of various countries, they are subjected to market volatility. That is, the price of currencies with respect to dollar, they fluctuate, right? The price of, if we compare the price of dollar as well as Indian rupee, we see that there is certain kind of fluctuations in this currency. Okay, so in order that so in this agreement, what is happening, when such principal amount is taken as loan, at the same time with, there can be interest as well as no interest, it can be decided in that particular agreement, but this money, it is given in a predetermined exchange rate. That is, the currency exchange rate is predetermined. Okay, it is not subjected to this market volatility, right? So finally, what is the benefit of currency swap agreement? It will provide short-term foreign currency liquidity. So if Sri Lanka wants short-term loan from India, when the country is facing balance of payment crisis, then this will provide this country a short-term foreign exchange liquidity support in terms of its forex reserve to countries which are facing BOP issues, okay, balance of payment issues. Secondly, it will hedge or it will protect these countries against currency exchange volatility. Okay, the volatility in currency, in the price of currency. Okay, so this is a currency swap agreement. Now let's solve this particular question with respect to it. And in the year 2019, we found this question, which was regarding currency crisis. Now let's solve this question, which says, with reference to the currency swap agreements, consider the following statements. Statement 1. As per such agreements, India will be able to borrow Indian rupee from other party. Now see, this statement is incorrect. Why? Because the countries will exchange local currencies. So India will not borrow Indian rupee. If India is signing this agreement with Japan, so India can borrow the local currency of Japan, that is yen. Okay, so this is incorrect. Second statement, the repayment will be done based on the prevailing exchange rate at the time of repayment. Now this is also incorrect, because the repayment will done based on the exchange rate before, when the loan was given. Okay, not at the prevailing exchange rate at the time of repayment. Okay, so this is incorrect. Now how many statements are correct? Both statements are incorrect. Okay, correct answer is option D. Now this brings us to our final question for the day, and this was present on the world page of Indian Express. Now this news article says that scientists, they have done certain genome sequencing studies, basically metagenomics, by using metagenomics. By this metagenomic and genome sequencing and gene analysis study, what they have done, they have found that there is a certain kind of butterfly, and this butterfly is a painted lady butterfly. Okay, we can see this butterfly here. This butterfly, this has done transoceanic migration. And how was this ascertained? Because the pollen which was found in the body of this butterfly, such pollen, see, this butterfly was found in Guinea, in French Guinea, which is a country in South America. But the pollen which this butterfly carried, this pollen was present in the flowers which are present in Africa as well as some countries of Europe. Okay, so these studies, these gene sequencing studies showed that this butterfly has done transmigration. It has crossed Atlantic Ocean. It has done transoceanic migration. Okay, so butterflies are able to do transoceanic migration. So based on this news article, let's solve this particular question, because UPSC generally asks questions regarding the behavior of certain species. Okay, in the year 2017, we found a question on butterfly. So let's solve this question, which says that with respect to butterflies, consider the following statements. Statement 1 says that painted lady butterflies can do transoceanic migration. This is correct statement, because such butterflies have been found doing transoceanic migration. Second statement, painted lady butterflies can do pollination only in their peripheral regions. Now see, this statement would be wrong. Why? Because any insect, if it has crossed its native region, and it is present in any other region, that insect by its very nature, that that insect is a pollinator, will be able to do pollination anywhere, right? So this capability of pollination is not restricted to the region where which this particular species belong. Okay, so this painted lady butterfly can do pollination anywhere, okay, wherever it is present. So this statement becomes incorrect. Third statement, they can even lead to proliferation of diseases in new areas. Now see, this is the correct statement. Now why are they scientists tracking the movement of these butterflies, or say any birds, any insect, any other species? Because when species, they translocate from their native habitat to any exotic habitat, what can happen? There are certain risks which can happen. For example, they can spread various diseases. Diseases can be fungal diseases, viral diseases. Okay, such diseases can be, there is a risk of transmission of such diseases when these species, they translocate. And other thing is that these species can become invasive in any other exotic location also. Okay, so this translocation of these butterflies, they can even lead to proliferation of diseases in new areas. Okay, so how many statements are correct? Only 2 statements are correct. Now with this is the end of our today's session. If you have any doubt, you can ask us in the comment section. Thank you.